All right, so it looks like it is the top of the hour. I do know we have some people joining us online, so we'll wait for them to trickle in. First off, thank you everyone for your patience today as we navigate through some troubleshooting. As some of you may know, my name is Laura Sigler-Zer, and I am ILTA's Local Experience Coordinator. I wanted to welcome everyone to KLST's Roadshow, AI Agents Inside iManage Work Web. First off, I also want to thank you and introduce you to our ILTA Houston member liaisons, Clarence Anderson and Andre Davison. And I also want to express our appreciation to KLST for sponsoring today's event. And Clarence or Andre will introduce our speaker in just a bit. I am looking forward to seeing what Clarence and Andre bring to Houston. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to our first event today. As we go through this session, please feel free to share your questions or comments in the chat. And for those of you in person, I'm sure Raghav will let us have some questions after the presentation. We will make sure to address all questions during the discussion. And now I will turn it over to Andre or Clarence. Take it away.
Hi, thank you, Laura. I want to thank you, everyone, for joining us today for our ILTA Roadshow with KLST Inc. On today, my name is Andre Davison. I'm the director of the Harris County Law Library in the new Houston member liaison, along with Clarence Anderson. So we want to thank Clarence. Is busy right now, but want to thank Clarence for hosting on today as well. And just a few things. Lunch is running a little late, so we hope to have that coming pretty soon. So thank you for your patience with that. And I have the pleasure on today of introducing Raghav Jagannathan, and he's the president and the group CEO of KLST Inc. And he's going to be talking about summarizing, drafting, and querying inside of iManage using AI. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Raghav.
Thanks, Andre. That's awesome. Alrighty. I know that this is a big deal for you guys to take an hour out of the day to come and see me and hear me talk. So I truly appreciate everybody online and offline for coming out. My name is Raghav. I'm the president and CEO of KLST, as Andre said. I'm a really proud ILTA member, and I contribute a fair bit to ILTA. I have spoken at many different conferences, including the ILTACon conference for the last many years. I was a speaker at the SharePoint Co-Pilot Symposium last month, in Chicago, working closely with Joy and Cara there, putting together an amazing show. So if you guys are doing anything with SharePoint Co-Pilot, please do come to those conferences. And typically it happens in Chicago in Feb, so it'll happen again next year. I'm also really proud to inform you guys I'm also speaking at the ILTA Evolve conference, which is also happening, I believe, next month. Yeah, next month in Denver. If you happen to be there, come and say hello. And I'm also being tentatively informed that I'm also going to be speaking at ILTACon as well. So I do contribute a lot to ILTACon in terms of articles, blogs, so please feel free to visit my contributions. I have a number of thought leadership blogs on the topic we are talking about today, which is AI inside iManage, AI agents inside iManage. You can scan those QR codes as you see fit, and please do connect with me on LinkedIn. All right, let's get started. So today's session is not about PowerPoint. So we're not going to do like a boring presentation here. We're going to kind of introduce a few concepts through slides, and then we're going to get right into it. I do apologize. I have a little bit of a sore throat, so I'm going to be coughing a little bit. So I apologize up front. So let's talk about why an AI agent inside iManage. Now, this is kind of, for some people in the room here and also online, this is kind of nirvana, right? Because we've been looking at something like this for 4 years, 2 years. I know iManage is working on something cool, Ask iManage, and they've released a number of previews over the years, and I know that it's getting to a decent place right now. But, you know, we've been at KLST, we've been thinking about what does it mean to have an AI agent inside iManage? And some of the things that we did a brief survey with all of iManage customers And some of the things that came out are actually listed here below. And I'm happy to make this interactive so the people on the chat, be free to post your thoughts on what really you want to see from an agent perspective inside iManage. And we'll collect all those questions or comments or feedback, and then we'll respond back to you as a post follow-up. So here are some of the things that we gathered as part of a brief survey we did with a close group of around 12 AML firms using both iManage Work Server and Cloud. And the first question, first response was just asking a natural language question and getting an intelligent answer or a relevant answer more than an intelligent answer. For example, if I ask a question like, do we have a document for Contoso, happens to be a client, so for example, an NDA document or an MSA document or an SOW or whatever, engagement letter, I get an answer that is an engagement letter for that client as opposed to just a random engagement letter. Right? So getting the right response with using a language of my choice. In this case, it's English. Frankly, it should work for Spanish or Portuguese or whatever, French or whatever my native tongue is. The search should extend beyond the context. It should go beyond workspaces, folders, documents, basically my tenant. Now, this is, again, nirvana, right? So any iManage customer, every iManage customer wants this. Oh, can I just type something magical or something very basic in the search box, and it just finds me this stuff. I don't have to kind of sift through all this information. And this, believe it or not, as a tech vendor, as a tech guy, that's pretty difficult to do. Actually, very difficult to do because you have terabytes of data in iManage. And generative AI is all about context and getting the right results fed into that engine, the large language model, which I'll talk about all this in a second, to get the right results back to you. So there's no magic wand here to feed that search results to the large language model so that you get the relevant content. So we'll look at some examples. But this is a second topic, which is like, if I search for something, I just wanted to search across iManage workspaces, across client matter workspaces and folders and documents and get the results I'm looking for. I don't want to dig in. The third one was, in that order, obviously security is very important. I would think that's number one. But user identity and permissions is very important, right? And permissions is not just iManage. You're talking like walls. Basically any security setting that you have beyond the ACL, like walls that you've configured on that client matter workspace, an agent should be able to recognize that and not expose data I'm not supposed to see. Interacting with an agent right within iManage, of course, but within a document itself. That's pretty cool. So the ability to chat with the lease agreement, that's 300 pages long. Right? So that'll be a lot of fun. So you don't have to read through the 300 pages document. You can simply ask an AI agent to summarize it for you or extract out the key terms or key things I need to watch out for, whatever the case might be, or even feed it compared with some other documents and so on. So the ability to just chat with a document. And this is kind of a zoom now in the age of AI, right? So if you go to my Adobe PDF, for example, and if you have the right subscription, you can chat with the PDF document in PDF, for example. So this is kind of expected now in the age of AI. Asking questions by reviewing documents. I'm going to keep going here. Generate summaries, insights, explanation without opening the file. So just ask the right question and get the answer, and I don't want to go and look for the information in the document. The summarization should just work. Snap. It just works. Create and save new documents in iManage. This is a new one. So how do you, if I'm talking to a chatbot, I don't want it to just answer questions. I want it to do stuff for me. So agentic AI, semi-autonomous. So the ability to have an agent that just does stuff for me. For example, what about an agent that is able to create a document from a template and some boilerplate documents? I simply ask the agent, hey, here's a template, here's a set of boilerplates, go and create some documents for me, or create an instance for me, and just does it. Or even advanced agentic solutions, like agentic workflows. For example, what if you are going back and forth with a client on email, and your client sends you a new version of the document or some red line version, and then the agent automatically scans that and uploads that as a new version in iManage without the need for the attorney to file it. Isn't that cool? Or even better, if you're within iManage and I just want to ask the agent to kind of just send me a zip file with all the latest version of all the pleadings document, a motion document for this matter or something like that, and the agent just does that for you. So it goes beyond summarization, goes beyond asking questions. It's actually doing stuff, automating workflows that attorneys typically may find very annoying or time-consuming. Which is the part I talked about, saving directly back in the current workspace. Manual searching I covered, surface insights, and last but not the least, an agent that's deeply embedded within iManage. WorkWeb is most of the survey respondents use WorkWeb. It's deeply embedded within that, and possibly the same agent also deeply embedded within Outlook, within Microsoft Word, within Excel, and so on and so forth, which is iManage aware. So not just like a co-pilot agent that's everywhere, but an agent that's aware of my documents, aware of my document management system intelligence. Any questions so far from the audience or from here? Any thoughts, anything that comes up from an agent perspective, some expectation that you guys have within iManage? Okay. It's a small group here, so I'm just gonna request you guys to kind of just ask questions, raise your hand, and we'll just make it nice and interactive. So what I'm going to do here is, I've already covered this part, which is the fact that an agent should be security aware, not just ACL, access control list, but also understands walls. In this case, the iManage Security Policy Manager, SPM. One of the things that I did not cover in that bullet point is also an agent that is in iManage. One of the responses gave, that we didn't get a lot of kind of words for this one, but an agent that lives in iManage but also understands my content beyond iManage. That was one respondent asked us this question: can we have an agent that understands my content in network shares? Can we have the same agent answer questions from some content files that lives in file shares? So that's an interesting one. So I'm gonna cover all those items as I do a live demo of a real life agent within iManage. As I switch over to the demo, I just want to quickly introduce a couple of terms I'm going to be using. So you're going to be seeing this term called KLapper. So the agent name, KLapper, is a private AI agent. Now, what does it mean, private AI agent? Private AI means that the agent itself is hosted, trained, basically grew up, and stays within your tenant. So this is not an agent that a third-party vendor hosts. You're not uploading content into that vendor's cloud and keeping your fingers crossed that, they may not use your data for training the model. This is an agent that is running within your Microsoft 365 Azure tenant. And that's a big deal. Why? Because you might have content in iManage that's highly sensitive, where your clients are asking you not to train an AI model with their data. So with a private AI platform becomes an extension of your 365 tenant. Meaning that if a private AI model is running within your Microsoft Azure, now I'm not a lawyer by trade, so I'm not going to legally advise you guys. You have to check this independently. But if an agent is running within the realms of your Microsoft 365 tenant, where your email, your SharePoint, basically your corporate life happens, then technically it's your private app. Because any content that this agent trains on, this never ever leaves your tenant. So we have a solution called KLapper that actually is a private AI platform that lets you train that agent with iManage data, like right now, as you can see, it's surfaced right within iManage. It's actually trained on this entire iManage repository. And all the data that it learned, now I'm going to get a bit technical, is stored in a RAG, RAG database that's also living within your Azure tenant. And it also uses a LLM, large language model, that is also within your Azure tenant. So it uses Azure Anthropic Claude 4.6 Opus, or it could use Azure OpenAI 5.4, all the latest models. So in this case, it's actually using Azure OpenAI 5.4. The difference between Azure OpenAI and OpenAI is that the LLM, a large language model, in this case OpenAI, is living within your Azure tenant. So when you send a question, like I'm about to do right now, or if you send a prompt, or the agent responds back to you, all that interaction with that LLM is happening within your tenant. It's not leaving your tenant boundary. So when I say tenant, it means Microsoft 365, basically your subscription with Microsoft. Okay, so the first demo I'm going to do here is, let me minimize that, is I'm within my Matters location in iManage. And I'm going to ask it a series of questions here. The first one is the semantic search I talked about. Right? So the ability to find the content in iManage just by using English language, or actually any language for the matter. English language doesn't have to be English. So you would see here our app, the AI agent tab is all of a sudden labeled. Now you may not see that in your environment because you would need the KLapper AI agent app installed from the the app store of iManage, and a few plumbing needs to happen behind the scenes for this to work. But once you have the plumbing in place with the KLapper infrastructure on your Azure tenant, and you install the iManage universal app called KLapper, added for iManage, you would see that AI agent just appear automatically. And it'll appear everywhere. It'll appear on the Matters, it'll appear on the workspace, it'll appear on the document. So we'll see that in action in a minute. So here, I'm going to go ahead and ask the agent a question, which is, do we have a non-disclosure agreement for KLSC? Now, I know we do, because it's kind of hidden within the Matter folders and workspace and all that stuff. But the key takeaway here is the ability to interact with my Matters in a natural language way, right? So if you were to ask this question in the search bar of iManage, you're not going to get much results. So in this specific location under My Matters, I have close to 25,000 documents, possibly more. Hundreds and hundreds and thousands of folders, nested folders deep, right? So what this agent does is now basically taking this as it thinks through it. I'm going to explain how it's doing it. So you can see that it took what is called a user prompt, the input text that the user types. It's also called prompt, user prompt. It takes the user prompt and it does a call to the MCP agent. Now, again, getting a bit technical here, but the idea here is that at least at a high level, you guys know what is going on. So the user prompt goes to the KLapper MCP, iManage MCP agent. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and it basically says, "Oh, look, this user is asking a question. Do we have a non-disclosure agreement for a client? In this case, a mod client KLSC." And the MCP server goes, "Okay, let me figure this out." So it takes a natural language query and starts doing its thing, because it's been trained on every single document, every single folder, every single metadata on the document, every single ACL and walls on each of the document. That MCP server database is trained on all this data in iManage. So it goes off and in this context, in My Matters context, it finds, okay, you know what? Here are the 5 or 6 documents, the 4 documents I found, matching that, and it produces what is called search results. The MCP gives you back results. And what happens after that is the prompt plus the results goes to the private LLM, in this case, the Azure OpenAI, processes the data, and it comes back with absolute magic. It tells me, look, these are the 3 documents amidst 20,000+ files here that you might be interested in. A couple of things to take away here. So as you think about prompt engineering, so prompt engineering was a big deal, right, in 2022, 2023. Everybody's like prompt engineering. It still matters, because when you ask the right question, you get the right answer. For example, if I ask this question like, do we have an NDA? Now, that's not a great question. Of course, you have an NDA. Every law firm will have thousands, millions of NDA, right, that you do for your customers or you sign. Now, that's not a great question. A better question would be to contextualize that prompt with a client name or a matter number or any of that sort. And that kind of reduces the noise in the results. And the same thing applies to this example as well. But the key takeaway here is the semantic search in action, how you can ask a question and you get a result. Now, let's go and get a little bit more specific with our questioning. I'm going to ask a question here, which is, again, I'm just asking a random question. Northwind Traders is a fictitious client, me as an attorney I represent. And I simply asked a very specific question. In this case, the question is, who are the major competitors? Before I could even explain it, it came back with an answer for this client. Now, maybe I was just curious. Or maybe I was just trying to extract some data out. Regardless of what the scenario is, that you get an instant answer. You get an answer that is deeply embedded in a document that lives somewhere deep within this matter folder workspace structure. And not only gave me the answer, it gave me a citation. Let's look at the document. So when you open the document, it's not a great document. It's only 2 pages long. So, but I could have easily read it and extracted the content. But the concept is very important. You can see here the answer was Ferguson and Lakes, something like that, right? So if I go to the document, look for that word there. There you go. It says the 2 major competitors for Northwind Traders are Ferguson and Lakes. And this document possibly lives somewhere knee-deep within this structure. A couple of things to note. When I open the document, you can also see that I have an agent waiting for me on the document. So this is the part I talked about before, which is chatting with the document. So with the chatting with the document, you can actually chat with the document, ask additional questions. Right? For example, here, I can ask an additional question here. For example, I see that it's something to do with 41% of clients, whatever. I'm just going to ask the question here that I have. I'm going to simply ask it, what is the percentage of clients taking EU adventure vacations? And because you're chatting with the document, it should come back with an answer right there. Okay, so again, the idea behind this was to kind of show you how you can start with a semantic search, a simple English language-based search that yields a bunch of results, document types to be specific, in this case, a non-disclosure agreement for a specific client I was looking for, or you can get an exact answer that you're looking for. I went very specific and I asked a question about something very specific to a client that I'm representing, and it gave me the answer that is deeply rooted within the documents. So what I'm going to do here is quickly switch gears and talk about context. Now, context engineering was a big deal. Sorry, go ahead. There was a question in the audience here. Yeah. Yes. That's a fantastic question. Yeah. So the question for the audience online as well is, how does the user know what to type? Like, I've just typed in a bunch of questions because I've prepared for this demo. But how do they know what questions to ask? The good news is that you have the ability, at least in this solution that we have, you have the ability to expose a prompt library for that specific agent. So you can have these questions saved within a prompt library, like suggested prompts, that you can simply give to the user so that the user, an attorney in this example, or paralegal for whoever the case might be, they have the ability to kind of use that suggested prompts to interact with your agent. Hopefully that answers your question.
We also have a question online. can you ask the AI agent to search based on a particular date range? For example, January 2024 to March 2024.
Sure. I'll take that online question in a minute. Sorry. There is a follow-up question from the gentleman here. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. So you're talking. Right. Right. So there are a couple of concepts that you're hitting on there, which I'm going to explain a bit more. So the first question I asked here was, do we have a non-disclosure agreement for KLSC? And the question from the gentleman was, how does the person even know what question to ask? And the answer from me was, okay, you know what? We have a prompt library where you can load up a suggestions, and they can pick from the list of suggestion prompts. The follow-up question was, that's great, but what if I ask the question, does the next question kind of follow a suggested path? Right? So do I have the ability to guide the user to that? The answer is yes. So you have the ability to guide the user through that path. That's part number one of the answer. Part number two is this agent also has a feature called memory. It understands our history. It understands the context of the chat. So as you ask questions, for example, I asked a question like, do we have a non-disclosure agreement? I can very easily ask a follow-up question. Okay, tell me more about this VPN document, something like that, right? So it has this feature called memory where it actually understands that, okay, from the history of that chat, I can easily kind of answer this question. So it's kind of to answer two parts to your answer. First part is, yes, a suggested prompt for the prompt that you just asked. And second part is the suggested answer based on the answer you got before. Okay? All right, so let me take the online chat question. All right, can you ask the AI agent to search based on a particular date range? Yes. So as long as the date range is within the document or within the metadata of the document. In fact, that was the next demo I was going to do. So let me do it. So with an AI agent like this, powered by KLapper, you have the ability to also search on metadata. So metadata could be contract expiry dates, I don't know, signatory parties, whatever, right? Handled by author, created by many different facets. So what I'm about to show you is how you have the ability to ask a question based on metadata. Now, I may not have a date example here for a second, but what I'm going to show you is a little bit more advanced than that. I'm actually going to reason or ask questions based on some additional metadata attributes. For example, I'm asking a question, the agent, find me all contracts or show contracts where the author is Adele and the operator is Shiva. So it's something very specific, right? So, and these are metadata properties columns that are within this specific iManage instance or specific workspace for that matter. So this metadata columns could very well be date range, could be very well be March 2024 to Feb 2025. It absolutely can be. So here, there you go. The agent comes back and says, okay, so I found one document, and this is the document. I can go into the document, and I can read it as I see fit, or I can simply ask the AI agent to just summarize the document for me. This just happens to be a GDPR document. This is actually one of our policy documents of GDPR that I want to show you how you can actually chat with this document. This document is fairly, written by a very smart person, a lawyer, and I can simply ask it questions based on, for example, I can ask something like this, right? What is the personal data collection? So basically, I started with a metadata prompt search where I asked some questions on find me a document, a contract, or find me an agreement based on certain metadata properties. In this case, it happened to be a metadata property on the document. And it could be very well date range. But then when I find the document, I now have the ability to extract out key information. This is one of the bullet points, if you remember, the ability to extract out key action dates, deadlines, milestones, even have a Tableau format, even get very sophisticated and ask the agent to remind you on certain contract dates as well. You can also do that, which is pretty cool. All right, so we'll keep moving here. Any questions for anybody else we want? Okay, so feel free to raise your hand, and I'll happy to take those questions. So the next, so a couple of things we saw so far. We started with a semantic search at the My Matters level. We were able to kind of find documents by just pure English language. Again, it doesn't have to be English. It could be your native tongue. We support around 80 plus languages. And I get an answer based on the query I gave. Obviously, prompt matters. What prompt you ask matters. What question you ask matters. If you have a very broad question, you get noise results, regardless of whether it's semantic search or not. And once we found the results, we were able to quickly preview them. I also asked a question on a specific data on competitors for a specific client I'm working on, and was able to extract out data that was deeply hidden within the document. That is also deeply, the document itself deeply lives within a nested folder structure, and the agent was able to do that. Then there were some questions on whether the agent can find data by metadata properties like dates, and in this example, a very specific metadata property called authored by and operated by, and was able to do that. And then we also saw how you can very easily chat within the document using the chatbot that is right within the document, the iManage preview window. Everything I'm showing you right now is supported for both iManage Cloud and iManage Work Server. Now, if you're a client who's still on iManage Work Server, the only requirement is you need to be on 10.4.x, so whatever that X is. So it could be higher, just not lower. Any iManage Work Server users in the audience here, in person or on the web? If you are, just post in the chat if you're online. If here, anybody's using iManage Work Server? Okay, that's good. All right, let's move on. So far, if you remember in my introduction, I said chatting with workspaces, folders, searching, all this stuff. Yeah, that's great. But what about creating content? What about surfacing intelligence, like doing stuff on behalf of the attorney? So let's look at it. So let's use this chatbot now. Start a new session and ask it to create some documents for me. So I'm going to use this magic word here, or create document. So for this agent, create document is a magic word, or create multiple documents. These are called magic words or system prompts, to be very technical. So system prompt is something that you can code up, if you write this agent by yourself or if you use our platform. These system prompts are designed to do specific things for you, agentic flow, right? So in this example, this system prompt is designed to create a document for me. That's why it's called create document. So when you click on the button, it starts a wizard. The first step in the wizard is simply to give it, okay, so where is my template? Right, so let's go and find our template. And I'm going to go in here and find a Word document that I'm going to use it as a template for the purpose of this demo. To do this, I'm also going to, let me use a simpler document so that I can show you this in action. So I have a bunch of templates here. It's a simple document. I'll show you in a minute how this document is and what it is. But I'm just going to select that. And this template is basically what I'm going to use for creating a new instance of the document. The next step is, okay, tell me where that you want to learn data from. So what documents you want me to learn from so that I can populate the template document to create an instance. So I can go across iManage based on my security, and I can go and find the information that I want to use to populate this template document so I can create a new instance. So for that, I'm going to simply go in here, same location, and I'm going to use a bunch of boilerplates. So I have a bunch of boilerplates here that I'm going to use, and go next. The next step, it'll ask you, okay, so how do you want me to handle the formatting of the document? How do you want me to handle the population of this document? How do you want me to create a document? So these are called instructions. So any chatbot that you use, KLapper or third party, almost every platform comes with what is called system instructions. These instructions are designed, but also called system prompt or chatbot prompt. These are prompts or instructions that you can give an AI agent to basically massage its behavior, right? It obviously there's a flow defined whatever third-party software you use, right? You can't change that. But with system prompts, doesn't matter, KLapper or third-party, doesn't matter, any third-party, you have the ability to massage its behavior. Like Copilot also does the same thing. So you have the ability to say, okay, you know what? I know you're supposed to do this, which is to take the template, read it, find all the placeholders, read all the boilerplates, automatically populate the placeholders with the right content. But you know what? My firm does things a little bit different. So you have the ability to put some stuff here. For example, I have stuff like, for example, every placeholder closed in square bracket, blah, blah, blah. So it's very specifically designed for this template I've picked. So you have the ability to kind of tweak, massage the behaviors. It's a simple English. You don't have to even format it. You can just type it. I formatted it because it's easy to read. And I can get very technical here as well. You can see I'm talking about JSON. Right. So I'm going to go next. The last step in the process is to tell the wizard where I want to save it. I'm just simply going to call this doc and give it a date here. Let's just call it March. And I can go and check which library, where I want to save it, which workspace and so on. So I'm just going to go ahead and save it here. So what I'm really trying to show you, less so than the wizard that I'm trying to show you here, more to do with the fact that you can have an agent in iManage that not necessarily just answers questions for you, but it can also do stuff for you, right? So in this example, it's actually going to take a bunch of documents I have. It's going to use one of these, and I can simply save it right here, right? So this can take a few minutes to create. So I'm not going to click on generate documents here for a second. But again, the idea here is that you have the ability to do this. So with the intelligent agent running within iManage, it's not only just asking questions, it can also do stuff for you, like in this example, create a document. And the same thing applies to the other prompt, which is create multiple documents. And what this lets you do is, this lets you create the same thing, except that you can do it in bulk. You can have multiple templates, multiple boilerplates, all kind of working in unison together, and let's say you have 5 templates and 10 boilerplates, you can automate the creation of this whole 50 documents using an AI agent like this, where it just creates documents in bulk, which is pretty incredible. They're all happening within iManage. So hopefully that was useful. Yeah, there's a question in the audience here. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to the traditional document assembly systems could actually handle something like that?
That's a great question. So just in case the audience didn't hear this online, the question is really around formatting of documents. So it's great that if the document is a simple Q&A, a bunch of placeholders and it goes into places, yeah, sure. But what if I have highly sophisticated documents with detailed formatting, color coding and highlighting and all that stuff going on? How does this compare? The honest answer is you're using a generative AI engine, right? And generative AI engine will have the ability to understand the formatting and it'll attempt to kind of preserve all that, right? And in fact, I have a demo on this as well, but I showcase that in the context of a Microsoft Word document. But we've seen examples where our clients are using this and it does hallucinate. So you'll see one-off instances where a formatting could be broken, right? So, and I can speak for almost every single Gen AI tools out there that I would say it gets it mostly right, but not a single AI tool out there will get it 100% right. So even some of the leading vendors out there, which I'm not going to name right now, but most of the people know, it's not. It'll be mostly right. It won't be completely correct. And I'll show you examples of what I mean by that. Like, for example, if you have some weird formatting on the document where you underline a bunch of text and you skip a bunch of letters and then you underline the next text, generative AI is not going to understand that. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because the document is in iManage. So you can absolutely. So I want to clarify here. The document generation will be pretty good, but would it be 100% taking into consideration your corner use cases, formatting error, formatting kind of requirements? It may not, right? And we've seen instances of that. But yeah, to answer that question, can we go back? So the gentleman's question was, can we go back in the document and edit it? Absolutely. So the document itself lives right here. So it's an iManage. So what it does is basically create the document, pushes into iManage. So now you have the ability to just open the document from iManage. So it's all right here. Okay. All right. So just moving on. So I want to talk about a couple of things here, which is going beyond iManage. Right. So obviously we are here to kind of learn more about AI agents in iManage. We saw a number of instances of semantic search and document creation and so on. But what if my content lives in other sources as well? So you can see one of the sources, network shares. How many of you, show of hands, online, offline, have network shares, file shares in your firm? Almost the whole room here. And online, yep, there's a couple of yeses here. So file shares is unfortunately here to stay, at least for the short term or the medium long term. And how do you make sense of it? So because your knowledge is still in file shares while you're living in DMS, your iManage DMS. So how do I have an agent, an intelligent agent, that's able to answer questions not just from iManage, but from many different sources? And file shares is one of them. So notice how this agent, right within iManage, I have a tab here on network file share. In this specific agent, we introduced this tab because we wanted to make sure that we allow users, because most of our clients have a very dominant footprint of file shares, and they want to have the ability to ask those questions, not just from iManage, but also from file shares. So this agent, you can design your agent, custom agent. This specific agent is smart enough to understand what your question is. So let's have a look. So in this agent, if I'm on the iManage tab and I don't switch over, I can simply use the word from file share, right? So it's a magic word, or from network share, or network docs, or whatever, right? So it's a multiple combination of. So all of a sudden it'll know that, oh, I'm looking for information from file share, right? Or I can simply select that option. So let's look at it. So I have a file share here that I've trained an agent on already. And I'm going to ask a question here. And it says, what is the judicial review and how did it originate in the U.S. Constitution? And anyway, so this kind of an abstract question, right? In the context of what we're doing, but I know that this question is relevant for me based on the matter I'm working on. But I know for a fact that this document does not live in iManage, or I'm really looking for information from my file share. And that's why I kind of switched that scope to be file share. So you can see here, it goes off, it brings a summary for me from that file share. Now, this file share has possibly 1,000 documents. I don't have a lot of documents here, right? So it's a fairly small set, and like 30 folders, nested folders, and so on and so forth. So it's not an indicative sampling of a large file share in law firm, but that's not the point. The point is that the agent itself has been trained to kind of understand that, look, if you ask me a question with the magic words file share or network share, or if you change the scope from iManage to network share, I'm no longer going to find information in iManage. I'm actually going to go to file share. Okay, get information. And how it's doing that? Straightforward. Again, the magic word is MCP. So what we've done here is we take the semantic search, which is the English language prompt I gave it, which is the judicial review, blah, blah, blah. And we simply pass this user prompt to the network shared MCP server that we built, KLapper network shared MCP server. The MCP server's core purpose is to basically process end user prompts and give you back results, right, in an intelligent way. So this searches across 1,000+ documents and finds that needle in a haystack, extracts out the summary for me, basically gives me the answer I'm looking for, and then does a citation. Okay, 2 questions, yeah, from the audience. Like, yeah, that's a great question. So the question is, for the people on the online, the question is, okay, why do I have to switch? Why can't I just ask the question? In this example, I can simply say, what is the judicial review and how did it originate in the US constitutional law, and why do I have to click file share? Why do I have to save from file share? Here's the answer. Your iManage source is humongous, regardless of the size of the firm. It's probably going to have at least 5 to 100 terabytes of data, possibly millions and millions of documents. There's a lot of noise for a journey behind it, right? So if you're looking for a needle in a haystack, then sure, you don't have to type in anything. By default, it'll go to iManage. But if you combine that big of a data source, even if you use a very sophisticated MCP like how we're using here, with network share, your data is just too big, right? And with AI, you're never ever going to get 20 results, 30 results, 100 results. You're always going to get top 10. Most AI, even including ChatGPT. If you're going to ask ChatGPT a question today and say, I don't know, any question, just going to have a brain freeze there, but any question, it's going to go blah, 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 and it's going to give you a couple of citations. Same with Copilot, a couple of citations. So it's never going to give you, here's the 20 other documents, here's the 30 other websites you're going to look at. It's never going to do that. So why? Because the context needs to be narrow for a Gen AI. So how does it correlate to what you're asking? So the context matters. When you ask an AI agent a question, the context, if it's too broad, you're going to get wrong answers, right? Having scope as iManage itself is very broad, right? You're better off living within my matters or specific workspaces, then you get your quality of results starts improving. Having a broad iManage itself, it could be very difficult to get the right answer. But if you combine that with network shares, which could have thousands, millions of files, then it's almost guaranteed that your answer will be possibly wrong. Sorry, second question. Yeah. 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 Great question. So for the online audience, so the question being asked by the gentleman is, can we have a scope defined for the file share, right? Or can we define multiple scopes? For example, I might have a H drive, K drive, L drive, M drive, and I might have 1 million documents in each file share with millions of folders and subfolders, probably thousands, right? Tens and thousands. Can I create a separate source for that? The answer is yes, of course you can, right? So the way you, the network share, getting a bit technical, it uses a concept called MCP, a network share MCP that we've written. So it uses a KLapper network share MCP. And the purpose of the MCP is to kind of go through all the documents that you have, folders, files in your network share, learn the data, the document content, the document metadata, like created by, modified by author, just a limited set of metadata in network share, permissions, ACL, right? For whatever you say that where you need to learn from, you can find the entire K drive and say, look, I want you to go and learn everything there, right? If it's got a million files, that MCP is going to chug along and create that vectorized database for maybe a couple of days as part of the initial setup, right? And once the setup is done, you can rinse and repeat that for every K drive, L drive, M drive you have, right? And then you define this agent, you can say, okay, I want to enable the K drive MCP and L drive MCP, or you can even get specific and say things like, okay, I just want to have the contracts folder in the L drive as a scope. Absolutely, you can absolutely do that. Remember, the more broader the scope, aka context, the worse the results gets. Please remember this. No matter what AI agent you use, if you build your own or if you buy a third party, context matters in generative AI. The more broader the context, I know this is not the best answer because most people want to find the needle in the haystack, but it's a tough one. Generative AI is not a search engine. Go ahead. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, it absolutely will. But again, context matters. So if you ask a question, let's say, so the question, the gentleman's question is, if I'm asking a question, like let's say I ask the question, who are the two major competitors for Northwind traders? But let's say it's hidden within 1,000 pleading documents in my iManage tenant across multiple time matter workspaces. The gentleman's question is, how does the agent know which one to pick from, right? The answer could be in all the 1,000 pleading documents, or it could be in 5 documents or 10 documents. How does it know? That's where the MCP server that you use makes sense, and the prompt makes sense. Let me clarify. So let's say I ask a question: who are the two major competitors for Northwind traders? And you saw an answer came back. Instead of saying that, I can say, who are the two major competitors for Northwind traders in my pleading documents? The pleading could be a document type or correspondence type or whatever metadata that defines the document of pleading. If we did that, then all of a sudden, the context could be a subset of the 1,000 documents. Now you can go even further and say, who are the two major competitors for Northwind traders in my pleading documents that was created in the last 6 months, for example, right? So the prompt matters. That's what sorry, I apologize for repeating the same thing. Because if you have a broader prompt, the chances are, if I ask a question like, who are the two major competitors for Northwind traders, and I was just expecting my result from the 1,000 documents I have, pleading documents, it may not. You may not get the right answer. So appending the word pleading documents helps. Appending the words modifying the last 6 months helps. Or even appending additional words helps. Because the better the prompt, the better the result. No matter you use Ask iManage or KLapper AI agent or build your custom, doesn't matter what it is. Your prompt needs to be specific to get the right specific answer. And the tough question there is, how do I know what I'm looking for? How do I know what specificity I need to add to the prompt? And that's something that will be part of the change management training for a generative AI agent like this. You have to train your attorneys to adopt an agent like this to ask it the right questions. You cannot start with a broad question. You'll just not get the right answer. Okay? All right. So I'm conscious of time here. Just want to quickly check that there is any chat questions posted in the chat.
I think that we answered them all.
Okay, perfect. All right. We'll keep
Jermaine, did you get your answer? If you just want to let us know. Actually, he's offline now. So if he didn't get his answer, we can follow up with him. We're just wondering if we could break a little bit earlier since lunch was late so that those people in person can get a bite to eat.
Of course, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I covered most of the stuff I wanted to cover here, but I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts in a couple of minutes, and then we'll wrap up for lunch. Lunch is outside waiting for you. I want us to think about, when you think about an AI agent, no matter where you are, in Outlook, Microsoft Word, obviously iManage. So we're in 2026. If the same question was posed to me in 2023, 4, I would say what I showed you so far, absolutely brilliant, right? People go like, wow, this is amazing, right? But now people expect stuff like with OpenClaw and all these really amazing tools out there, right? Obviously, security nightmare for IT guys. But you can do some unbelievable stuff. You can automate the whole thing, your work. It can do stuff for you. All you do is granted access, privilege, which is the scary part. But it can do stuff for you. So agentic is a requirement. It's not like, oh, it's a nice to have. No, it's a must have. So an AI agent in iManage, agentic is a requirement. So please think through as you evaluate vendors or even embark on your own journey to build an agent like this. Please think about key workflows that attorneys are doing with iManage or within iManage or outside of iManage, but into iManage, whatever the case might be, right? Like the email example, where it automatically scans an email attachment, uploads a version into iManage. Filing nightmare solved right there, right? So agentic is a requirement. Like this screenshot shows you how timesheet entry is happening based on scanning the Outlook Outlook calendar automatically. So think about the automation part. Think about the sort of tasks that people perform in iManage. And if you come with ideas, please share with me, right? So I'm going to leave my contact here. Please share with me personally. I love kind of hearing from customers, prospects, because it just makes, first of all, my presentations better in sessions like this. But more importantly, we may be able to help you as well as advise you in the right direction to look at. So that ends my presentation. Thank you so much for attending. I truly appreciate you coming on for an hour, spending time with us. Lunch is served outside. And for the people online, thank you so much for attending the call. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Raghav. This is really great. And thank you to our member liaisons. And of course, thank you to everyone for your patience as we navigated through some things this morning.